see white lies dancing between the lines. She's an atheist. Carousels in her mind, spinning all in her eyes. She's an atheist.
Hello and welcome to the Digital Freethought Radio Hour on WOZO Radio 103.9 LPFM here in Knoxville, Tennessee. We're recording this on Sunday morning, October 17th, 2021. I'm Larry Rhodes, or Doubter 5, and as usual, we have our co-host Wombat on the line with us. Hello, Wombat.
Who told you I was going to be here? Who's talking about me? Who? Tell me who now.
You're not paranoid, are you? Our guests today are George Brown 2.5. Hello. Dread Pirate Higgs from all the way from Canada, and the John Richards from England. Hello.
Hello.
Digital Freethought Radio Hour is a talk radio show about atheism, free thought, rational thought, humanism, and the sciences. And conversely, we'll also talk about religions, religious faith, gods, holy books, and superstition. And if you get the feeling that you're the only non-believer in your town, well, you're just not. Here in Knoxville, we have a whole group of 1,000 of them called Atheist Society of Knoxville. We'll talk a little more about that later on. Wombat, where are we going today on our topic?
Today we're talking about paranoia. Who told me we're going to talk about paranoia? Oh, okay. I don't know what's going on. We're going to be talking about paranoia and whether or not we're all susceptible to it. But really, does religion reinforce paranoia, which is sort of an extension from our last week's topic on narcissistic personality disorder brought by George. We're going to be talking about paranoia today, and I think it's going to be an interesting topic. But before we get into the meat and potatoes, I'm going to throw it up to our own Dread Pirate Higgs for our weekly invocation. Ooh, he's got the tricorn on.
Noodly Lord, who art in a colander, al dente be thy noodles, thy blood be rum, thy sauce be yum, with meat as it is with vegetables. Give us this day our garlic bread, and forgive us our cussing, as we forgive those who cuss against us. And lead us not into ketoism, but deliver us some carbs, for thine are the noodles, and the sauces, and the grog, whenever and ever.
Amen. Guys, I had a really cool week. First week back after going on vacation for a while. I went to so many different disc golf courses and had a lot of fun times. I went to 2 tournaments, got last place in both of them, but my score overall wasn't bad. I was 3 over. So like, that's just a very competitive, group of people that I was with, but I felt really good. I felt like, I got that bucket list item checked off. And now I just need to figure out more things to pack into my weekends to have hobbies, but I don't think anything tops hanging out with you guys and catching up on what you guys have been up to since last week. So we're going to throw it up to Dread. What have you been up to since last week, my friend?
Well, we had our past out on Friday, so I'm full of vim and sauce and
nice.
All that good stuff.
What's the pasta du jour at one of those events? Do you go penne? Do you go lasagna?
This last week, I just made a great big pot of sauce and traditional spaghetti.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad. Got to keep it consistent. And of course, as you eat the body of your Lord, you do so with all the reverence and respect.
We do the benediction at the beginning and praise the noodly Lord, and we are all touched by his noodly appendages, of course. So
absolutely, I'd rather have a being out of pasta beats grape juice and a small cracker any day. At least I have a full stomach.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying. John, how you been? Also, what's that last interview? Oh, well, I'll do one question at a time. How have you been, John? How about that?
Been fine, thank you very much. I'm fully recovered from September's blast of COVID, and back as insane as my normal self.
Now, I have in the news that you interviewed a tiger recently. How'd that go?
Yes, Stephen Tiger, in fact.
Yeah.
And it went very well. He and I are both proud of the recording we made of our chat. So you can see that. And of course, I'll do a commercial to it at the end of the show.
Fantastic. We'll throw it up to George Brown, 2.5. I like the headphones you got. You look very stylish, my friend. What's going on with you?
Well, these headphones came from a 98-cent store in California.
That's how you do it. You live real. You got thrift stores are all the rage these days. It's very 2018.
Well, it wasn't a thrift store. It's a chain. How would I put it? I have at times in my life been an audio professional, and my definition of a professional is a person who knows what he can get away with.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay. And so having been an audio professional, wearing 98-cent earbuds fits me fine.
Okay. I'm going to ask the hard questions here. How is your hearing right now on the top and low end range? Do you still have complete control of it,
well,
or is it?
Answer you very unfortunately, is that, as you may know, our hearing deteriorates with age.
Right.
The high frequencies fall off. So, I mean, when I was in my early 20s, I was working at RCA Victor one day and confirmed that I heard 30,000 cycles.
Wow.
30,000 hertz. That's like halfway above the range of human hearing. Yeah. And now, if I'm honest with myself, I'm probably down to about 7,000.
Yeah.
So if I'm listening to an orchestra and somebody hits a triangle, I may or may not hear it. You know.
So now when you hear it hurts?
No.
We get it.
Sorry about that.
I get it.
I won't go into my tirade about changing the name from cycles per second to hertz.
It is a funny thing. My mom got my mom has a CI, or a cochlear implant, and
yes,
her hearing has been restored in one ear completely, and it took a while for her to realize all the sounds that she wasn't hearing. For a while, it was just like, "Ooh, why is everything so loud? Why is everything so shiny and shimmery and stuff?" It's just like, that's the way how things normally sound all the time. She's like, "I don't like this. It needs to be like deep and quiet and muffled."
Tyrone, how old is your mom? I'm
not going to tell that on the radio. She'd kill me. Larry,
there's always cotton wool.
There's always cotton and wool. Well, you know what she does? She just turns it off now. I think it's good for her. Yeah. Speaking of cybernetic human hearing, Larry Rhodes, how you been doing? And
I'm fine. And welcome, Eric.
Hey, Boudreaux.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Boudreaux.
Larry, I do want to touch real quick. Why do you have headphones on when you could listen to us with your hearing aid almost wirelessly?
I really can't unless I do it on my phone. I mean, I guess I could make my computer do it, but the quality of sound isn't as good as with earphones.
Okay. Yeah. Very, very cool.
All right. But I do answer phone through my hearing aids, listen to some like stories and audiobooks through my hearing aids, news broadcasts through my hearing aids. So that's pretty cool.
Comedy shows, maybe even?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, anything I can watch on my phone, I listen through my hearing aids. But when it comes to actual music, I'd rather have earphones or earplugs because of the bass response and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I can respect that.
Fidelity.
I've had those wireless Bluetooth headsets in one ear, and I would sit quietly in a room and just burst out laughing, and people would look at me like crazy. So I feel like we've completely changed our culture to expect that now. So if I ever see you sitting eating a burrito and laughing hysterically, it's like,
I can talk on my phone, of course, through my hearing aids. So people will often see me standing having a conversation by myself and wondering who the hell I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Especially when I answer the phone and someone's nearby and I say, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah.
And they look at me and say, "Not bad. How are you?" And I say, "Oh, hey, sorry, I'm on the phone."
Yeah.
So is that anymore? So the weird thing is that's not weirder than being like, "Oh, I got to make this putt right now. Let me pray to my God. Yes, please. Let me get that. I need to find my keys." Is that any different? I feel like it's less commonly accepted.
Well, one's real and one isn't. So.
Well, how about this? I know one's way more useful, and before I even want to even consider if the other one's real, I want a good excuse to believe it. But we're gonna throw this up to Boudreaux, the man. Haven't seen him in forever. What's going on,
guys?
How's the family?
Good. Yeah.
What is the state of Star Wars? Have you seen Star Wars Visions, and are you appreciative of it or not?
I have not seen them. Yeah, I want to watch it. It sounds, it's kind of like an anime style, right?
Yes, it's heavily. Well, I mean, some of the studios are American,
Yeah.
Some of them are Korean. It's sort of like a Matrix
Yeah.
into the Matrix sort of anthology of separate stories. But each of us about a half hour. I don't know if I'd recommend it. You have to know Star Wars to appreciate it, because they go in deep, and they don't, and the references don't stop. There's like Wilhelm screams every 4 seconds, and it's a trap. I'm like, I'm sure these are references to something, but
Yeah.
It's a trap.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I think I'm putting a hurt on my Star Wars member card by not seeing it yet. But no, I will get to it. There's so much content right now.
There's so much content right now.
Yeah, not
It's
kidding.
only going to get worse.
Dread, what's
What you
up?
got, Dread?
I just wanted to mention, if anyone's a Frank Herbert fan, Dune is coming out on the 22nd.
Ooh.
And it's I've seen the trailer, and it is just amazing. So I'm hoping it's of course one of my favorite books of all time, and had a big impact on my youth. And
Right.
I'm sure hoping it's going to be much better than the one with Sting.
Well, they had a high bar. They had a high bar, and I think they
Okay.
surpassed it pretty well.
Yeah, I'm
So-
looking forward to it.
I wanted to touch on something a little weird. I'm going to pick on you a little bit, Boudreaux, because I had the similar feeling. Sometimes when I'm part of like a fandom, but I'm not face to face with people, I feel bad when I'm not keeping myself up to date. And I always have to take a step back and realize, why do I care what other people think, what I'm doing in my free time? It's not like anyone's watching me right now. It's not like I'm being observed by a fandom police. But why do I still have the sensation of like, oh, I'm letting people down, or I should be doing more, right? And I feel like that is, in its own little small way, is like maybe healthy paranoia, or like a weird twinge of paranoia. The idea of feeling like you're being observed, watched, accredited, whatever you want to call it, when in fact that may not necessarily be the case at all. And I can definitely see the biological advantage to having paranoia, like being able to constantly look over your shoulder might keep you a little bit longer in the woods or in the cave or the jungles, more than people who are just super confident about what's ahead. But I wonder, do we all have small senses of paranoia, even if it's in a healthy format? And could that be exacerbated by religion? And I wanted to have that conversation today. So John, it sounds like you want to start. I'm throwing this at you. Do you have paranoia? And what do you think about your coolest paranoid story, if you do have any? And then what do you think about religion exacerbating it?
Stop asking me questions. It'll be the bucket over the head with the wooden spoon beating it next, won't it?
Yeah.
No. I think paranoia is one of the neuroses, isn't it? And you're right. It's perfectly reasonable, rational, and sensible to be aware that there may be some threat, especially back in the days of uncivilized man wandering around in the company of predators and snakes and things. So that's probably evolved that as a means to protect our species.
Yeah.
But what we call paranoia today is an irrational fear, isn't it? It's a fear for no threat. It's an imagined fear. And yes, I do think that religion exacerbates it, because that's how the elders of a religion inculcate the infants, isn't it? They give them a fear of imaginary things like hell and God, and that's how they control them initially. They want to get them under their thumb right from an early age.
So they have both systems, both the carrot and the stick, right? It's like you have hell, but you also got heaven too. So whatever works for anybody, right? What do you think?
Yeah, that's more the case in Christianity and less the case in Islam, which is more stick and very little carrot.
Okay. Larry, do you want to weigh in?
Yeah, well, first of all, I got to say it's not paranoia if they're really after you. Somebody's really following you. But I think in religion, yeah, I mean, it's like they inculcate you with this idea that 24/7, somebody's not only watching everything you do, but everything you think. all your intentions. I mean, it defines paranoia, if you ask me. I think, it's the bottom line of religion, especially Christianity.
It's also, to me, it feels just like an unneeded aspect, because you have Santa Claus. Why does he have to know when I'm sleeping? Why does he have to know if I've been bad or good? Like, does he need to know my address too? It just seems like this guy has too much information on me. I'm freaking out. Pujo, I'll throw this up at you. How do you feel? Do you ever have senses of paranoia, and what do you think about them?
Sure. Yeah. And I like John's distinction too with rational versus irrational. And I'd even dare say if you truly believe in a God and you believe God is good, then is it irrational? Is it an irrational paranoia for a Christian to think somebody's listening to their thoughts and watching them? I think at that point, if you truly believe and you're not, BSing yourself, then I guess that is kind of a rational paranoia. Maybe it's the only way keeping that person good. And I know some religious people have said they would just shoot people if there wasn't a God, right?
Right. I'll throw this out at you, Bujo. I think it could be a consistent train of thought, right? If you believe that, there's a higher power speaking to you and you want to make that being happy no matter what. But if the belief system itself is irrational, then I would imagine everything that derives from it is irrational as well, including the sense of paranoia that comes from it.
Sure. From our perspective, sure, it's irrational, but from their perspective,
it's consistent.
It's consistent.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I guess
I think. I think there's a objective standard for rationality. It's like, let's see if we can reason a objective and clear way to get to the truth of the matter, or a nominal difference between what you believe and what the truth actually is. And if we don't know that, we can just say we don't know. And since we don't have that for a supernatural power, we can at least say, at least what you're thinking is consistent. But is it in fact rational? We haven't been able to judge that yet. Like, I'm not even saying it's irrational, but I would say we can at least conclude that there's no basis for rationality in this belief system and things that come from it.
Yeah, except I would grant to the believer that in their, again, consistent way of thinking, they are behaving rationally, being that they believe. Like, the paranoia is not something that they're doing from an irrational state. They truly believe this is happening. So as they're moving along, they're very happily, it's just as beneficial to them as our rational fear of a tarantula or something like that, right?
Right. I love that thinking, and I would only say that it's possible to be convinced that you're rational and still not be, right?
Sure.
Like, we do live in that world, right?
Yeah.
And so it's up to an objective standard to not to prove that something is rational, but at least have a means of demonstrating that, on an objective standard, I can do this, and so can you. I don't know. I might be at a loss of words. Dread Pirate, it looked like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say that the idea that paranoia, or the notion of somebody looking over your shoulder, is what is keeping you from killing or doing bad things. I think that might be something that someone would say intellectually, but it's a different thing to actually follow through. So to say that, without a belief in a God, I would be inclined to, murder and steal and rape and all that stuff. That's one thing to say it, but it's an entirely different thing to actually do it. And so, if it's just simply a verbal justification for having a God and saying, I need it in order to prevent me from doing these things, I don't think that's actually a very, I guess, intellectually honest thing to say. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. We'll throw it up to our own George. George, who's behind you right now?
Well, I'm sitting here listening to all you former Christians and trying to imagine, because I have to imagine what it's.
Wait, are you saying you have no sense of paranoia? Is that what you're alluding to right now?
Oh no! Oh God, no. But I'm saying that for me, I was brought up an atheist.
Yeah.
And I see. I didn't know that about you, John. Thank you. So that whole concept of God looking over my shoulder or being programmed from birth, almost literally, it's simply not in my sphere of knowledge or experience. So I have to listen to you talking and try to imagine what it would be like to be brought up this way and to have that belief from such an early age. And the one thought that came to my mind is a fear of our own death. Yeah. Okay, and the religion steps in at the very beginning and says, you will have eternal life if you follow in this path. You are not going to die. Is that right?
Yeah. Larry.
Well, it says you're going to have eternal life. No ifs, ands, or buts. It says you're going to have eternal life. It's just where you're going to spend it.
Yeah. In pain or pleasure.
So here comes the paranoia.
Yeah, it's just a change of address. That's about it.
But all these people are trying to get away with their sinning somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And somehow they're going to go to heaven anyway.
Well,
so I don't get that part of it at all.
I'm going to throw this out. I think, George, you're touching on something really interesting. Maybe it's not the belief in God that's the root of irrationality, but more or less the irrational fear of death, because death is a very natural part of life.
Right.
It's a necessary part of life. Like, I wouldn't want to live forever right now here. Like, that would suck. Like that would eventually get bored, right? There's only so many times I can play disc golf before I'm like, I'm trapped in a Twilight Zone world where I can only play disc golf and do science all day. I don't want this. But I feel like since you're young, you never get a chance to come to terms with death through your own cultural mechanics, because everyone's so invested in this eternal life idea. And because of that, you never have a chance to deal with death on its own terms. And as a result, you have an irrational fear of it, because it just seems like it's so much more of an immense thing than it may need to be. Eric, Larry, do you think?
I was just going to say that the fear of death can be exacerbated by religion too. If you feel that, there's no way that you're good enough to go and get to heaven, then you would very much fear hell or death if you thought it was going to lead to hell or a very worse next life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. John?
Well, at the risk of straying off the topic a bit, one of my favorite expressions is life is a terminal disease. And it's
what an
sexually
atheist.
transmitted.
It's sexually transmitted. Okay, that's pretty great.
The cure for life is death.
Wow, Boudreaux, you've been listening to too many Foo Fighters. I can tell you right now.
The thing is, I've been here now so long. I think I've got it's an expectation. I deserve.
You've earned
this.
it. You've earned it. Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's outrageous to think that somebody's going to come and take it away.
Right. You worked all your life to have everything that you have now, and the fact that it could be over, it's like, but I just got everything that I have now.
Exactly.
I was born with nothing. You don't realize that? It's like, it should be the other way around. Then take all my stuff away from me until I have absolutely nothing, like the mind of a baby. Then you can kill me. I don't care. But don't do it the other way around. That's just cruel.
That's
George,
right.
what do you think? Back on fear of death. Fear of death.
Well, not a fear of death. But,
is it rational? Is it rational?
You asked about paranoia, and am I paranoid?
Yeah. Are you paranoid?
When I brought up the topic of narcissistic personality disorder for us to discuss, it didn't come out of a vacuum. I have been doing like armchair psychology study of destructive people for the last year and a half at least.
Wow.
Very intensively, as an effort to try to understand various destructive people who have come in and out of my own personal life. So, and every once in a while now, I have to back away and say to myself, are my perceptions of what just happened to me really, have I evaluated this correctly? Because one of the problems that I have personally is that I often don't understand it. I don't realize it when I'm being attacked by somebody verbally. And so that I have to reflect and come back to this over the course of maybe a week before I realize what actually happened.
No, I do the same thing too. I sometimes have conversations with people that I'll replay in my head afterwards and feel like, did that go well? Did I understand myself? Did I carry my concepts of thought across clearly? Were they upset? Were they not upset? And I will get exhausted by that mental model over and over again. Like it's
exactly. Yeah, I'm still
So
there.
does this mean that paranoia is linked to being a snowflake?
Possibly. Who knows?
What is a snowflake?
Hey, we can talk about it during the break. We're at the bottom of the half hour.
No, I mean for our listening audience. And
it's okay. They know. Trust me, they're on the internet. Larry, what's up?
Well, it's the bottom of the hour, so this is the break. Let's take, the mid-show break. This is the Digital Freethought Radio Hour at WOZO Radio 103.9 LPFM right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back to the second half of the Digital Freethought Radio Hour. I'm Dr. Five, and we're on WOZO Radio 103.9 LPFM right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Now let's talk about the Atheist Society of Knoxville, or ASK. It was founded in 2002, and we're in our 19th year. ASK has over 1,000 members, and we have weekly Zoom meetings during COVID, but we've also started meeting in person again down in Knoxville's Old City at Barley's Taproom and Pizzeria, out on the patio. You can find us online at knoxvilleatheist.org. We also have an entity on Facebook or meetup.com, or you can just Google Knoxville Atheist. It's just that simple. By the way, if you don't live in Knoxville, you should still go to Meetup and search for an atheist group in your town. Don't find one? Start one. Bet where you want to pick up?
Hey, we're going to be talking about paranoia and how does religion actually exacerbate that today. But before, or as we continue on this topic, Bujo, you had something you wanted to reflect on.
Yeah, I guess the question was, do people view death, is the fear of death irrational? And one of the things I've often kind of scratched my head at, and I've heard some answers from Christian friends defending this, but what is the fear of death if you believe in the afterlife? I mean, take any Christian person and ask them if they're afraid to die. They're, no, I don't want to die, and they'll do things that obviously, make it seem, that they'll behaviors,
except for getting vaccinated. Sorry, that's a hard shot, but yeah, fair.
But just by and large, they don't want to die. And it's kind of like, why? I mean, you've got 80, 90 years of life on Earth, full of suffering, full of, just getting sick and seeing other people die. And yet you go to the afterlife and it's, it's all cotton candy and whatever else it is up there. And it's like, what are you afraid of? And I believe there's a Muslim author that believed in Islam, and there's a loophole where if you die before a certain age, 13 or so, you automatically, go on to the good place. And he tried to jump off a building when he was young and commit suicide. It was very rational.
It was very consistent with a irrational belief system, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Luckily, he survived and then moved on to atheism and wrote a book about it. I'll have to find the book and share. But in any event, I just wanted to kind of share that kind of perspective.
I'll weigh in this real quick. I think what's even more fundamental than irrational God belief is irrational fear of death, and even more fundamental to that is a fear of the unknown, right? And I feel like that's the heart of why people are have trepidations against death, because it's an unknown thing. They've done everything they have done alive before, or could do it, but they've never died before. And that's the one thing you never really get a lot of opportunities to do in life, or enough to publish on it after the fact. And so because of that, I feel like it's a big unknown. It's a huge unknown. It's a conclusive unknown. And so many people, it happens to so many people that you're just like, well, what happens afterwards? I have all this anxiety, and religion's not answering it, or religion is answering it, but not offering the explanations needed. So Larry, what do you think?
Oh, I agree. It's not answering. It's claiming to have the answers, but that's all it is a claim. And I think we should probably mention, since we're talking about death, near-death experiences. And I'd like to reiterate that near-death experiences are just that, near death, not actual death. Like you said before, nobody's actually died yet in our group or among the living. But people have had near-death experiences, but we don't count that.
Right. Yeah. And I've had near-death experiences where I've been drowning in a lake, and it was a euphoric experience. It was like, I can't believe how at peace I feel, but it wasn't me going to like a tunnel through space-time to heaven. It was just my brain being like, okay, let's make as much changes as we can so we can slow down your heartbeat so that we have the best chance for surviving. And hopefully, someone will pick us up and get us out of here. And it wasn't Jesus, it was a lifeguard.
Yeah. His name was Jesus, though.
Jesus.
Or Jesus.
It was Jesus.
But,
maybe it was. Who knows? It was probably a Christopher. Who knows?
And it should be mentioned that people who aren't Christians don't see Jesus, and people who aren't Hindus don't see Krishna, or they see their own religious iconography, because that's what's in their brain at the time. I mean, that's what's in their mind. So,
Dred, I'll throw this out at you. Do you think it's reasonable to believe that fear of the unknown is the real driver's seat of the fear of death?
Absolutely. I mean, I in so many instances throughout my life, it has always been what I don't know about a situation that has driven my fear about it. Yeah. I mean, it could be waiting for my dad to come home because I got kicked out of school for smoking pot. You know what I mean? Like,
what's it gonna do?
The strap hurt, but
I thought
it didn't hurt as much as my fear of it. And it was almost actually a relief to have the outcome and be done with it than to sit there in anxiety and anticipation of something I didn't know what to expect. So
now I'll go a quick question before we go to John. Were you raised atheist, or when you came out as an atheist, was that a fear that you had as well, in the sense of, I don't know how people are going to react to this, how my family will react to this? Or do you see where I'm going with that, John, Dred?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who suffer from coming out as an atheist have the exact same fear of just the unknown of what would happen. It's not a fear.
Well, yes. Okay. And in fact, I may have veiled, like I used to be a Freemason, and there was a point at which I had one of my, I guess, brothers here, and we sat down, and I had just come to a point where I couldn't reconcile what was going on in the Masonic Hall and the rituals and stuff with what was actually going on in my head. Right. And then finally, after, kind of contemplating it for so long, and again, dreading it, right. I finally said, look, man, I got to tell you, I'm an atheist. And he says, oh, so you're one of those people that hate God. And I said, no, actually, I just don't think there's enough reason to think that there is one. So, but yeah, for sure. And, I still face that. I veiled my, I've wrapped myself sort of in the persona of Dread Pirate Higgs and the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster to, sort of answer some of those unknowables. But, underlying all that is essentially atheism. But even dealing with my own family, all my wife, my kids, my grandkids, they're all pretty ardent Christians and believe, persist in that. And I'm sort of the outlier. Yeah. And, as much as they love me, I do absolutely have the sense that they're okay with me going to hell.
It's a weird, bizarre concept, right? Yeah. I got a mom that's Jehovah's Witness, so like it's a weird concept. John, I saw you wanted to mention something.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was a while back.
Yeah, I've got I can bring quite a contribution to this, but I was interested that Dredd revealed what we all know, that they think we hate something we don't believe in.
Right.
How weird is that?
Yeah,
So-
I usually like to ask them if they hate Santa Claus.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Right.
yes, that's a good comeback. But it alarms me, this religiously induced paranoia. It's a sort of holy closed circuit television, isn't it? That's
Right.
watching, even when you're in the toilet, minding your own personal requirements. And what it leads to is a sort of excessive submission to authority. That, there's somebody up there, all powerful, exaggerated respect for that person. And I remember a friend of mine that I've known for about 30 years, we were walking side by side somewhere some time ago. And I said something which he regarded to be blasphemous. And he extorted me to bend the knee because he thought that, I was under threat of being zapped, I don't know, by his God from the sky. It's weird.
So, I'll throw out one quick anecdote to support that. Like, I've had people tell me, hey, my favorite band is, I'm just going to throw Pearl Jam, right? And I'll be like, yeah, they're okay. I like other bands, but they'll take that offensively because for them, they've so closely identified with Pearl Jam that they are part of Pearl Jam. And so a lot of people closely identify with their God belief to the point where it's one in part with them. And so I always ask myself, why is this concept of someone who's always watching you, even when you poop, even every thought in your head, so unattractive at a face point value if anyone else were to do it, except for a God? It's because a lot of people think in a weird way that they are God, and that's a big, powerful thing for God to do. And it's a big, powerful thing for them to think that they have direct access to a part of themselves that has that capability too. And that's the only reason in my head why I think it's an appeasing idea for Christians to have an all-knowing God. It's because, well, part of me is all-knowing now too, because I'm part God. It's like, look at the problems that come with having an actual being that knows what everyone's thinking and is aware of everything and is also control of everything. There's so many implications there, but I don't want to take up too much time. Larry, George, I saw you raising your hand a while back. What's up?
Well, I wanted to return to the issue of fear of the unknown, because it's an interesting thing. I was reading something recently, I think it was in The Guardian, about fast food chains, and that fast food chains, one of the reasons for their success has been fear of the unknown. In other words, fear of eating food from someplace that you don't know and what it's going to do to you. And I have to confess that when I moved here, I drove a truck 2,000 miles across the United States, and I had a fear of the unknown myself. And I only ate at chain restaurants, you see, because I couldn't afford to take the risk of getting sick on the trip. I was the truck driver, and I had an agenda, I had a schedule, I had to return the truck by a certain date, and so I could not afford to get sick. I could not afford to take chances on food, knowing full well that I probably would not get sick if I ate it at unknown places, and I probably would have enjoyed the food a hell of a lot more, right?
George, I'm going to throw out something weird at you. I know you don't like to be surveilled, particularly even on the internet, and I know that there is, concrete examples of advertisement agencies and government bodies working in conjunction with advertisement agencies to know as much as they can about us that we're willing to unfortunately give out to just the open public, right? And so I'm thinking, if you had a better record of who exactly was reading that, would that make you feel any better about
oh boy, I used to have software that did show me who was there.
Yeah.
In other words, every website I went to would identify all the passengers who were riding on that website that you guys don't know about.
Yeah. Would that make you feel better, or did that make you feel better?
No, it
If
made
it was
me feel
less unknown.
terribly frustrated, because the people who I really trusted turned out, in other words, the newspapers that I trusted were the ones who were surveilling me more than anybody else.
Wow.
Is what I discovered. And I mean, the names of these passengers were often oblique. You couldn't tell who the hell they are because they're like combinations of numbers and characters. And,
Right.
it makes you more paranoid when you see who's there.
It's bizarre how unknown is fearful, but ignorance can be bliss at the same time too. It's just the weirdest combination of two different things that feel like they're the same thing but aren't, just in terms of
so now I use software that simply shows me how many passengers there are on the website.
Okay.
But typically, I mean, it's absurd. It's like, you go to a newspaper website, there's 20, 30 passengers on there. What the hell are they doing? But
so I want to throw it up to Larry. Larry, you had made you wanted to make a comment a while back.
Yeah, I was just going to say that one of the reasons that religion-driven paranoia is so bad is that the rest of society clued in the paranoia, or at least major portions of the society. Can you imagine being found insane, thrown in an insane asylum, but then all of the inmates share the same delusion?
Right.
What that would do to you? Or, it would reinforce it. Yeah.
Imagine being a woman in a world where everyone is convinced that women are inferior, don't have a place in the workplace, and it's like, this is something I have to battle every day I wake up, and what's really unfortunate is that, there are so many narratives like that we believe and reinforce every day. It is a crazy thing, and you have to get outside. You have to educate yourself.
Not just your actions, but your thoughts. That's what's so bad about it.
I'll throw out one quick thing.
Well, I want to address that, please.
One quick thing, George. If you are a kind of person that has, the best way that I found to get over that kind of mindset is think of like 3 people that you admire for a particular thing. And if they all have like the same sex and they all look the same, like try to educate yourself with more people. I'm not saying get rid of those top 3. I'm just saying know some back pocket people, of different backgrounds, to educate yourself at least on the concept that different people are incredible things too. And you'd be amazed how astonishingly your worldview would change once you realize that. All right, George Brown, what's up?
Well, I enjoy a Sufi teaching story named When the Waters Were Changed. It's about the man who held out drinking water that caused all of the other people in his village to become deluded. And the question was he going to finally give in and drink this water and become deluded the same way that everybody else was? Because what was happening was that everybody else being deluded in the community were convinced that he was crazy.
Cool. Dred?
He was the last man out who was sane in the world of insanity. And that's how I feel about Facebook, by the way. I'm holding out. I'm the last sane guy who's holding out and refusing to use Facebook. And I'm paying a hell of a price for that because I'm ostracized by all these people who are using Facebook. That's how they know that.
Isn't the idea that I'm the last person that makes sense here, like the definition of like, there's a thing there that I want to touch on, but we don't have time for it. But Dread Pirate, what's up? Dread Pirate, what's up?
Allegory of the cave. It just reminded me sort of the reverse of what George was saying. Is the first guy out of the cave to realize that the illusions cast by the puppets through the light of the fire is what is illuminating the reality that most people perceive. So there's 2 different ways of looking at it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go full Ouroboros on this. Eric, I feel like paranoia, going back to the very beginning, is sort of like our process to put a face on the unknown, which we fear. by having paranoia and like an ambiguous space, we can at least say, well, I don't know what's there, but I know whatever's there is concerned about me to the point where they're willing to observe me. And that doesn't make me feel as alone. And it does make me feel like I have some sense of what's, behind this murky situation. Do you feel like that could be justified?
Well, I don't know about justified, but it's that personification, right? That we tend to do. Something's unknown. We personify it to understand it better. I think it puts it in a category that we can better explain. It gives us, I don't know, ways to understand things through a metaphor almost. But yeah, by making it, instead of it just being a thing, it's a being, it's an entity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of baggage that comes with that, a lot of unnecessary assumptions that kind of delude our thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody said on that subject that humans are hyper adapted to identify and recognize agency.
Yes, absolutely.
Even where there isn't one.
We'll even put it where it isn't. Yeah, we'll even imprint it wherever it isn't. George, what's up?
Does this explain the devil, the concept of the devil? In other words, it's putting a face on the unknown.
Sure. Yeah, because you have to have something bad that's separate from God enough so that you can have that whole tangent. I would say so.
You got to have someone to blame.
You got to have someone to blame. You got to have someone to be like, hey, we got second place. That's the devil's fault. First place, hey, thank you, God. Thank you, God.
Yeah, well,
That's because I've been wondering for years about why is there a devil at all? If God is omnipotent, there would be no devil.
Problem of evil, right? Larry, what's up?
Well, yeah, that's a problem that the polytheists don't have. They have gods that do this and gods that do that. And if, something bad happens, then they're either fighting or one god acted badly.
That's right.
If one God is responsible for every single thing that happens on the earth, then he's also responsible for evil and sickness and all this other stuff. So, we had to create basically an opposite God, to underscore the evil in the world and all that. Even though it says in the Bible that God creates evil. I think
it does. Very early, actually, very early.
Yeah.
And it's about competing interests, right? Certainly the Greek pantheon was about competing interests, like you say. Polytheists didn't have the problem of evil because it was the foibles and the fickleness of these personalities that were just elevated to superhuman status, right?
Yeah.
So this underscores what I think is the thesis of this, perhaps this discussion, in that unknown causes people to come up with answers that are typically gods or some sort of agency, right? Mm-hmm. And we can worship those particular forms. And I feel like if unknown makes religion, we can probably cure that by having more knowns. I'm just throwing that out.
John, eliminating the god of the gaps. Eh?
Yes. John Richards, what do you think? Because we stopped worshiping thunder, right? Hopefully.
Bring on scientific method to investigate all the mysteries. Yes, but Larry's right. Back in the days of polytheism, nobody expected the volcano god to be benevolent.
Is that true? I feel like Hawaiians or Polynesians might have been like, upset again. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I watched Apocalypto again here just a couple days ago, and about when the sun or when the moon finally came to eclipse the sun, that the god's thirst was finally sated and they let the guy go. Yeah, it's kind of typical, isn't it?
Man, this was a mind-blowing conversation, guys. I think we want to go around for last thoughts. George, I know you're sitting there pensively. What's on your mind closing out the show? Oh, nothing. I nothing. Absolutely nothing. You're lucky I can read lips, my friend. John Richards.
Oh, so you want
show you were talking about? Yeah.
And final thoughts on. Okay. Well, is this to do with the topic, or can I just do my commercial?
First, close out the topic for us. You are also a host. You know how to do that, and then go on ahead and start plugging. And
Okay. Right. Well, Paranoia. It's a bit like pedophilia or incest. It's all right as long as you keep it in the family.
Wow.
Relatively speaking.
Relative. Oh, Dread with the +1. All right, Dread. Thoughts on Paranoia?
Paranoia will destroy you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it will destroy you. Let it go, man.
And the thing is, religions can really exacerbate it too. So, like,
Yes, absolutely.
try to consider where it's coming from.
Again, just back to critical thinking.
And yes, exactly. And the more you know, the less you can be paranoid about, because it seems to be stemming from the unknown. So,
Ignorance.
try to
Yeah.
know
Or just accepting that there are things you don't know, can't know, won't know, but may find out later. So,
right.
Just trying to limit the anxiety you feel about things by understanding that this is an absolute part of our reality, and we just have to come to terms with it and move on.
I dig it. Boudreaux.
I think we missed a component here to talk about paranoia. Time. So if you have plenty of time to think about things and work through it, you can kind of get rid of a lot of the irrational paranoia. But as you pointed out in the beginning of the show, it is kind of an evolutionary trait that we have, a healthy bit of paranoia. And you can demonstrate this, and especially in the world of Zoom these days. I was on a call with a friend months ago, and he was in a hotel, back to the door, his door's behind him. He's on a Zoom call. And I just to test it, I thought it'd be funny, be like, hey, the cleaning lady's right behind you.
Oh.
And of course, he turns around. But he knows the door's closed. He's probably has the door locked. How would maybe even the latch done?
There's some
but
signs.
still, it doesn't matter. The instant paranoia. If he had 30 minutes to think about it, he'd probably be,
it's like when you shout out "duck."
Yeah, the craziest thing is you did that violating his free will. Isn't that crazy? All right,
I did.
Anyway, Larry, do you have final thoughts on paranoia, my friend?
No, I think I pretty much mentioned the things that I wanted to talk about. It's just that it seems to be a core backbone of religious thought, especially Christianity. There's no release from it. There's no relief from it.
Right. So I would say in religious thinking, yes. And then outside of religious thinking, there is paths to free yourselves from paranoia. And I think what Eric was saying is true. You do need to give it time. I find like religion often steals that time away from you and the ability to think, but you can learn to critically think. You can relearn to reassess what's true and what's not true. And you can learn to know things better. And once you know how to know things, once you have that good epistemology or that good ability to learn true things and know what false things are, I think you can handle the unknown with a much better toolkit than you may have had if you only had religion to go off with. So keep learning, keep asking questions, and that's how you make the unknown smaller and the paranoia goes down with it. Yeah. You can find me at Let's Chat. I got a YouTube channel. You're probably on it right now. Thank you so much for watching. John Richards, what do you want to plug? Plug and chug.
Freethought Productions, that's my YouTube channel, and I went to Manchester in the middle of the week and did a presentation to Manchester humanists. And you've already mentioned my chat with Stephen Tiger. And of course, there's Global Atheist News every week.
Highly recommend Global Atheist News. Very, very fun. Dread Pirate, what do you want to plug and chug?
My channel is Mind Pirate on YouTube, MINDPYRATE. I live stream this every time I'm on at 8 a.m. PST on Sunday mornings. So check it out.
Very nice. Eric, I saw you posting some links. What do you want to plug and chug?
Yeah, so I just to circle back on the book I mentioned, it's Why There Is No God, Simple Responses to 20 Common Arguments for the Existence of God. And I did check out his wiki, Armin Navabi.
I got his book.
Yeah, great book. But in the beginning, he talks about how he wanted to just end it all to guarantee that pass. So, yeah, really good book. I got a lot out of it early on in my. Yeah,
fantastic. George, anything you'd recommend we check out before next week?
No, I wasn't expecting you to get back to me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Larry,
I wasn't the last time either.
Larry, what's up? how do you, what do you want to plug and chug? I heard there's this thing called atheism, but nobody knows what it's about. So we can just move past that.
Yeah.
What else you got on you?
Yes, my book is called Atheism, What's It All About? It's available on Amazon. Remember, you can find this show on Apple iTunes, Pocket Casts, and Amazon as well, and other podcasts everywhere. Just search for Digital Freethought Radio Hour. You can find my YouTube channel by searching for Doubter5 or Larry Rhodes. You can also send questions for the show to askanatheist@knoxvilleatheist.org. By the way, if you're a member of the clergy, a preacher, imam, or pastor, priest, but no longer believe in the claims of religion, there's hope for you at theclergyproject.org. That's clergyproject.org. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Remember, everybody is going to somebody else's hell. The time to worry about it is when they prove that heavens and hells and souls are real. Until then, don't sweat it. Enjoy your life, and we'll see you next week. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Noodles.